Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is your local Problematic Leo here with a 3 a.m. installment of Dress to Kill. So, pardon me if the energy seems a little bit low, but I hope you guys will enjoy some chill vibes. Now, I was actually seeing a lot in the comments ever since I kind of sort of came back. They're like, yo, we're having some issues with the Glaucus skin for Sevagoth. Could you help us out? And I was like, no, that skin is ugly. I hate it. And if I'm going to be completely honest with you, the way they kind of customized it here as its default, yeah, it looks a little frightening. If I'm gonna be honest with you. And there are definitely still some issues with the skin. We'll take a look at it when we actually get into my customizations. I also wanted to say, they do have the lullaby that comes with the actual ghost thing that he comes out with, but as many of you guys are fully aware, especially after watching my playthrough of Whispers in the Walls, I don't actually play with music. I'm usually watching like Netflix off to the side somewhere. In fact, I'm trying to catch up with Doctor Who so I can see the new specials that are out. But that aside, let's go ahead and take a look at my customizations. And I'm actually going to be giving you guys some tips and tricks because as I was playing with it, I was noticing some very interesting things, and I was like, okay, if we approach it from, this particular perspective, it works out a little bit better. Now, as you guys know, we always work with a little bit of rose gold, and I do have to say, I feel like I kind of did a thing with this one. It looks a lot less crazy than the initial set, and I'm actually going to walk you guys through how I actually started messing around with this. But the first thing I do need to point out here is, and I don't know if this is a known issue, I'm sure this is a known issue, somebody somewhere would have had to say it, I'm not going to be the one. So if nobody has said it yet, leave a message in the forums and hopefully they'll take it for you. This shoulder piece right here, which is totally removable, I believe this is just the Glaucus shoulder armor. The energy effect is not applying to like the see-through little jellyfish thing. I don't think that is intentional. I think that is definitely something that, they're going to need to address. I've been playing around with it and seeing if I could get, it to pick up any kind of tint whatsoever, but it doesn't seem to be doing so. All right. With that aside, the first tip that I did want to put out there is if you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed with the skin, take off the shoulder pieces and take off the, the auxiliary. So this gives you a little bit of a better look of the skin on its own. And I'm going to be honest with you, I actually think this looks a little bit better. It's a lot less busy, and I know when we want a deluxe skin, we want more and more and more. But if you're having trouble customizing it, this is, I think, where you should start so you can kind of get a better view of it. Now, this is an interesting one because your primary mapping is actually usually where the accents would be because this is the main metallic. Oh, let me go into the actual main thing. Your primary is actually your main metallic instead of your accent. So what this means is if you have other items that you usually customize like armor pieces or Syandanas that pick up on metallics, you're gonna need to swap them like on your own instead of just copying over the color. You're gonna need to actually do some manual swapping in order to get that done. So the first place that I always start is going to be the primary and the accent. So what this controls is the metallics and then the rusty bits on the metallics. So usually, since that's going to be the biggest governing piece of it, that's where I kind of like build off of, like what metal do I want to use and do I want a light or dark kind of underlayer to that. Then your tertiary, then you have to kind of decide whether you want your tertiary to pop or whether you want your secondary to pop. Tertiary is going to kind of govern the metallics for, not the metallics, but like the textures that have the little dangly bits that come down there. And then your secondary is going to be kind of like this musculature that's underneath. Now, the secondary, I think, is the best place to have a nice pop of color because I do feel like the secondary is a little much. But let me go ahead and attach the rest of the attachments on there because I feel like that's a pretty good place to start. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I haven't actually messed around with too many armor. Well, no, I have. I've messed around with some armor pieces on there and I don't like much. I don't have anything to like suggest, ooh, you can put this on, or you can put that on. No, I didn't really like much of any of it. But as you can see here, now that we've kind of layered everything on, especially because the shoulder piece isn't picking up, it kind of becomes a little distracting, but I feel like it works out pretty well. Also, because of the fact that he has that crest, it kind of reminds me a little bit of Roman armor. So, of course, the Kiro Signa. The Kiro Signa is kind of just like the goat of the year, right? We started off early with a bang, and I think it looks amazing. I went ahead and tossed on the Zarina Ephemera, mainly because of the fact I like the fact that it comes as a crown, and then it kind of kind of hits that belt that he's got going on. So definitely that. Then I wanted to actually point out one thing that I really enjoyed about the skin. It's so messy. The skin has so many textures, has so many different dangly bits. It literally looks like a ship anchor has just drug itself across the seafloor and just collected a bunch of shit. Which means when it comes down to Syandanas, you actually have a good bit of selection to go through, mainly because of the fact that it could be anything. And there's a whole bunch of Syandanas that I'm going to be completely honest with you, I would not use elsewhere, but actually fit really, really well on this one. I like the kind of like bio-organic kind of things. Like, look at that. It's a trash Syandana. It looks like trash. But you put it on him and you're like, oh, it fits. It fits perfectly. Then you can kind of do something like the Bennu, and because of the fact that he's armored, it still kind of fits. I'm going to be honest with you, like the techie ones are the worst ones that I don't feel really sit well with the Syandana. So as much as I love the Officium, it's not necessarily the winner here, but I mean, as you can see, there's still a whole lot that works well with it. There's one that I like. The Dominus Syandana, you're going to have to switch around some color mapping on there, but I kind of like it. I kind of like it as well. Let's try Officium, just because we're here, right? I mean, it's not the worst in the world. I'm going to have to redo the color mapping on that if I want it to stay, but that is look number 1. Technically, it's customization B, but that is look number 1 for you. And just to keep note, when I did this customization, I wanted the armor to have the, the golden bits, but I wanted the rusty bits on it to be dark. And that'll play into the next concept that we go into, where we actually, I gotta take off this, but I'll show you. Sometimes I like to start off without the ephemeras on, because sometimes the ephemeras can kind of take over things. But as you can see here, I actually went for almost like a seashell kind of vibe, right? I wanted to get a little bit of that glossy goldenness, and then I went ahead and tossed on a lighter accent tone. So as you can see right here, you can see a little, I was thinking like alabaster, you know what I mean? Like seashells, alabaster, that's kind of like rusted. You can see it the most in the crest. And then I was thinking, let's do a stronger tertiary. Let's take off some of this stuff so you can see it. Let's do a stronger tertiary and make it kind of seaweedy, like he's been drugged through the sea, right? So those are like my little concepts that were going on, at least through my mind, when I was putting this all together. And as you can see, the energy color that I actually went with is very, very similar to the Glaucus shoulder armor default. So here, it almost looks like it kind of blends in a little bit better. Sorry, my cat is determined to get onto my table, and I'm like, not now. But as you can see, it kind of blends a little bit better because of the fact that I'm using a similar energy color. But do you see that red? There's like some red in there. They put some like red energy color on there that's weird and crazy, but whatever. Anyway, so that's what it looks like when the Glaucus shoulder piece actually kind of works a little bit. Now, when we went with the Signa, really any of the Signas work, if I'm going to be honest with you, but I really like the Envine one for this one because it looks kind of like coral. I was actually thinking of doing a customization that was very corally, but I feel like the pop of color was just a little bit too much. So if we're gonna run it back, basically, as we always start with our customizations, I was saying, strip it back if you need to strip it back a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the body. Start with your primary and your your accent so you can figure out where to go. And I'm gonna be honest with you, less is more in this one. when we saw the basic, you know, customization of this, legitimately, they were like tossing every single color on there. If you actually look at the color palette that I'm working with here, you can't really see. You can kind of see it right here. It's very minimal and it's very pulled back. Kepler, do you want to say hi? I'll let you say hi for a minute, okay? He's super determined. I love my kitty bibs, but he really wants to get in there. You don't want to say hi? Look at the camera. Look at I love you. Okay, I'm gonna put you down. Okay. Yeah, so keep your color palettes like not as crazy. Rein it back in. Take off some of the armor if you really want to see what's actually going on with the customization. Then go ahead and add it in at the end so that you can feel like you have something more cohesive. By the way, speaking of clutter, I absolutely love this Syandana on him because you could literally see it on the screen. Here's like a whole bunch of weird clutter. Here's a bunch of weird clutter hanging down off of his foot. So why not go ahead and turn a lantern on there? Like a little ship's lantern. But anyway, so after you've gone and done that, what I would actually work with next, so I would do, hold on, let me go back. I would do primary and accent, right? Then after that, I would actually jump into energy to make the color. The jellyfish color, and then after that I would go ahead and work with your secondary and tertiary just to give yourself a little bit, you know, more perspective on what you're working on and to not overwhelm yourself with all of the craziness of everything. And then from that point on, just kind of slowly add more and more into the ephemeras. So as you can see at the end, we get this kind of like underwater gushy thing. Now, one of the things that I actually forgot to do since we're here is I did not show you guys the shadows. So let's take a look at the shadows real quick. So this is, of course, the first one, and I needed to let you know, while I was saying earlier you need to manually reconfigure some of this, this is what I actually had to do because the original accent color and the secondary color were swapped, and this whole thing was an orange blob. It was just way too much to look at. It didn't seem creepy or like freaky or anything at all. It just looked like a weird orange blob, which was highly unattractive. And I'm looking at it right now and I'm wondering if the shadows coloring picked up on the energy color, because I don't think it did either, so it must be a bug. The attachments that I have on this one, of course, is the Brawn Prime Ephemera. You get some weird ephemera effects on this one, but try it out. I'm going to show you the next one because this is, of course, where we have to go with it. This one I didn't have to remap, but I did toss on the neighbors one because you just got to have the bats flying out of it, right? It's like an incorporeal body with bats coming out of it. It's absolutely perfect. And I'm also going to say I did not have to remap this one. I just copied it over and it ended up all working. So I hope that gave you guys some perspective, some tips and tricks. I think I hit everything that I wanted to hit when it came to customizing the skin. If you guys have any more questions about this, or if you guys have any updates on like the color mapping, if they know that it's an issue, yeah, because I can see that red. You see like the little red energy effects that are coming off of it. You can almost like little veins, right? Let me know if you know that they're aware of it, or maybe it's just something that shows up in the arsenal and not actually in game. Toss that down in the comments below. Hopefully this video was a little bit of a help to you guys. I honestly initially was not going to do this because I did not like the skin because it was so busy and messy, but I think that now that I've kind of put my hands on it and done a little customizing, I do actually like it a little bit more now. Anyway, that about does it for me for now. I'm gonna go to bed soon, so as always, love somebody, hurt nobody, and touch yo body. I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.